Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 130.3. Will Rutherford's 5 questions that need answers. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, and I will ask Will Rutherford 5 questions about professional sports, and he answers with expertise.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome back to Will Rutherford for Will Rutherford's 5 questions that need answers. Today is, what is today? Today?
It's the 26th.
I knew that, but what day of the week is it?
It is Thursday today.
It's a Thursday, man. I've completely lost track. We are a little later than usual, of course. Of course, the Christmas holiday throws things a little bit off, but it's a big time for sports. So here we are. Will taking some time to spend with us. Appreciate it, Will. Welcome.
No problem. I'm excited. I love doing this.
Yeah, so much fun. No Michelle this week, so it's not going to last an hour and a half.
Okay.
And there probably won't be. Probably won't need a warning about yelling in front of the podcast. But the two of you got a little passionate last week.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's what makes it so great, though.
Yes, it does. But I had to put a warning on front of there that there were significant volume changes in the podcast. So anyway, welcome back, and of course we start as we always do during the NFL season with the NFL, the 5 teams most likely to win the Super Bowl in what, month and a week or so? About
Yep.
6 weeks, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So my number one team is still going to be the Buffalo Bills. I am not going to let them not having played yet knock them off the number one spot. I don't think that's fair. We haven't seen how they look this week. They could look incredible. Obviously, they don't have the number one seed to play for, so we'll see. How they, play with Josh Allen and their running backs and stuff. I'm excited to see. I don't really think. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way that they can be anything other than the 2 seed. I believe Baltimore is the only team that can catch them at this point. So I'm still going to put him at 1. I think Josh Allen's playing the best football of his career. He's taking care of the ball. They played. They played all right last week, but I just think that until I see them this week and can properly, rank them lower than where they are, I'm going to say it is the Bills at 1.
Hold
for
on,
2.
hold on.
Okay.
I need to.
Okay.
I need to go a little deeper into this. So there's
Okay.
a team. I don't know if you know this, Will. There's a team that's won the last 2 Super Bowls. That's 14-1. Do you realize
Yes.
this?
Yeah, they are.
And they're going
They're
to
a good
have the
team.
home field advantage in the playoffs. So you're telling me you think it's better than 50-50 chance that Buffalo goes into Kansas City, beats Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs to win the AFC?
They've done it before. They can do it again.
Of course they can. You're telling me you think it's better than 50-50.
Yeah, I think the Bills are a really bad matchup for the Chiefs. I really do. I don't think that. The Chiefs played their best game last week. I will give them that, their best game of the year. But they still have really just kind of won ugly the whole year. They've got some questionable games that kind of have tilted the record in their favor. Some, I don't want to say, some non-calls, some calls, things that have really changed the outlook of this season where, maybe in week 2, week 3, they didn't seem like very big deals. But now with their record the way it is, it does make a big deal. I mean, there's a big deal, the difference between them being the 1 seed and them being the 2 seed. But yeah, they're playing great. I'm not saying they're 2.
I think they've sleepwalked through the regular season and are still 14-1. That's the way I look at it. By the way, there's not been a week that I have not had the Chiefs number 1. You realize that, right?
That is. No, and I don't think that it's bad to have them at 1 at all. I'm not saying. I feel like in a matchup in the postseason, I'm going to give it to the Bills versus the Chiefs because I think the Bills run the ball a lot better. I think the Bills can defend the pass. And I really think that while the Chiefs have beaten the Bills in the postseason, the Bills have kind of had the Chiefs' number in the regular season, and there's no reason that the Chiefs can't I have their number again. I mean, Josh Allen has played absolutely phenomenal in the postseason.
To
In
be
things,
fair, Will, I would have it at 51% Chiefs, 49% Bills. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
no, I know.
I really think they're 1A and 1B. I think that is going to be not only one heck of an AFC championship, but most likely the Super Bowl in my mind.
I mean, in their last game, they played each other. Let me see, when did they play each other? They played each other in week 11 is when they played each other. And the Bills won the turnover battle. They outgained them by 100 yards. They had 5 more first downs. They had a decent tilt in the time of possession. I feel like the Bills' recipe to winning is to run the ball incredibly effectively, which they can do with both their quarterback and I,
James Cook, of course.
I really like James Cook.
Yeah, he's
I really
fantastic.
think that Ray Davis is an admirable backup. They don't have the skill guys on the outside, but Khalil Shakir is a great slot receiver. Dalton Kincaid has been an admirable tight end. I just this Bills team has been really complete. I think all year, even more so than I think the Chiefs. I think the Bills have been more complete in more dominant fashion week in and week out than the Chiefs have. I think their defense has some question marks, but when it comes time, Josh Allen is going to show up in the AFC Championship game. He wants to get this monkey off his back of not being able to go in and do it. I just think he's going to.
All right, so you say Bills 1, Chiefs 2. I say
Chiefs
Chiefs
too.
1, Bills 2. So
Yeah.
who do you have as your number 3?
I feel like 3 at this point. I think 1 and 2 are truthfully so far away from the pack. And people might disagree with this. I just think that like you said, I think that is the Super Bowl. That AFC
Yeah.
Championship game, if they're there, that is who is going to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Unless Baltimore has a huge game in the semifinals and upsets them, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. I'm going to say 3 just because I think that they're probably going to have home field advantage. Assuming everything in the NFC, everything goes their way, I still think the Lions. I still think I'm going to have them at 3, just from the standpoint of they have a great home field advantage. They have the most
Yes.
skilled team remaining in contention. They have weapons absolutely everywhere. They can win in shootouts. Their defense has been bad, but I trust that coaching staff is phenomenal. I just feel like they're going to be game ready, and I like in a way that Michelle dislikes Dan Campbell's aggressiveness. I like it. I think he might steal a game that he probably could have lost and should have lost, and I think that they're just really good offensively, and I think so far, great offenses this year have kind of dominated against defenses. I think overall the year, I think it's been more of a defensive year. But I think when offenses want to put their foot on the gas, they're running the scores up. They're scoring a ton of points, and I think that's what the Lions are going to be able to do, especially at home at Ford Field.
All right, who's number 4 for you?
Number 4 for me, right now, I think that this week could really determine how I feel about them. But I still really like the Packers. I just think that they're a really good team. I know that they played an incredibly weak opponent on Monday Night Football this past week in the Saints, but they absolutely dominated that game from start to finish. They're still playing against professional football players, and they just killed them. It's to me, they are really complete too. I think comparable almost to the Lions. I think, and really, the Vikings are like that too. I mean, those are 3. The NFC North has the 3 most complete teams in my standpoint of tight end, receiving core, and running back. And we haven't even brought them up yet. The Eagles are the same way. These NFC teams, I think the AFC teams are better at the top because I think they have the better quarterbacks, and I think they just they're just able to win. If
And the
that makes
Chiefs
sense, like
and Bills also have really pretty good defenses.
yeah, they do, and that is what to me elevates them above the others. But 4, I'm going to say the Packers. I love Jordan Love. I love Josh Jacobs. The Packers are truly a run first team. I think Tucker Kraft is an incredibly skilled tight end. They have a deep receiving core, any of which could go off for 100 yards and 8 catches and a couple touchdowns. they're a they're a mismatch for teams. Their offensive line has been really good, and I think defensively they are an admirable. I think they're the best defensive team in the NFC on a week to week basis. I still think the Eagles are running really hot on defense and playing good defense, but throughout the course of the year, the Packers defense has been really really good.
All right, number 5.
Number five, I would have probably not said this a few weeks ago, but boy, I think the Ravens they are good. They
They are
looked
good.
really good last night. They just murdered the Texans. Um, Lamar is so incredibly talented. Derrick Henry is just I don't he defies time for the running back position. He's only getting better. They have an an admirable receiving core in Flowers and Aguilar. I think Mark Andrews is maybe the best tight end. I don't want to say the best, but he's in the top three tight ends going to be in the postseason. He was quiet at the beginning of the year, but him and Lamar have been on the same page over the last 6 to 8 weeks and have played really good ball together. I just think that Lamar can win games, and the way that the Ravens play, they can go on the road and beat teams because they are able to run the ball so effectively and really have two different running styles as far as Lamar and Derrick Henry. It's funny. I think that the Bills and Ravens run the ball have a tandem that run the ball very similar, but the quarterback and running back are flipped. Lamar is more of the finesse runner, make people miss, hit holes really hard, similar to the way James Cook is. And Josh Allen and Derrick Henry run the ball a lot the same way too. Very physical, wear on you. Towards the end of the game, you start seeing those 3 and 4 yard runs turn into 12 and 14 yard runs, and it just wears on a defense. And I know that you don't see Allen run the ball as much as you see Henry, but they're just those two teams, the way they run the ball and are able to move men to do so is very similar. So I'm going to say the Ravens have to be five. They've just proven that they are a really, really good team.
All right. Well, the correct answer, by the way, is Chiefs number 1, Bills number 2, Philadelphia Eagles are number 3, the Ravens are number 4, and the Minnesota Vikings. They're 13-2 for the. We haven't even talked about them. They could have home field
No,
too.
they definitely could, and I feel like it's a disservice not to bring them up.
Yeah.
My only issue with the Vikings is in the playoffs. You're going to see a Justin Jefferson, he's going to get bracketed the whole game. He's
Yes.
going to be. They're not going to let him have 12 catches and 130 yards. Teams just aren't going to let that happen. They're going to take that away completely. And I feel like he has been the safety net and crutch for Darnold in a way that I I've never seen before.
Yeah.
I don't
Should be.
understand what teams. He is. I just don't understand what teams do when they're defending Justin Jefferson. It's like how in Jamar Chase. Where is the league gone wrong? You can take these receivers away if you want to. You can put two or three guys on them and bracket them and make their life a living hell for 4 quarters. And teams just refuse to do so, and they get absolutely torched because of it.
Well, good coaches will come up with a solution most of the
And
time,
I think
and
that too.
and
And
and Sam Darnold is not going to beat you by himself, and so it would be hard for me to put him any higher than 5 because of that limitation.
I would say the Vikings and Ravens to me are close, and I'm going to give Lamar the edge over Sam Darnold because I still think Sam Darnold will give the ball up. He is a guy that will give the ball up to the other team, and in the playoffs that can hurt you a lot. That one costly turnover can be the difference between a win and a loss. He is I think he's a great passer, and he's really put the Vikings in a tough position on what they're going to do next year because I think he complements this football team really really well. But I just don't see them. I think that their record is better than the Packers, but I think they're the third best team in the NFC North. I would at a neutral field, I would have the Packers as a favorite over the Vikings.
All right, so with 2 weeks to go, the Colts have a mathematical chance to get into the playoffs. The Chargers, of course, have to lose twice. What are the odds that that happen?
Well, I mean that's not the only way they can get in. I would say that the odds of the Chargers losing twice are poor. However, this is a situation that has happened before. I mean, the Colts in 2021, that year, I mean, they had 2 games. They had to win the last 2 games. They controlled their own destiny to get into the playoffs and lost. One of which was at home, one of which was on the road. I mean, the Patriots are playing teams tough. This is a game that I feel
Yep.
like the Chargers cannot go in and overlook. I think the mathematically, to me, I think that the better chance of this happening, I really think that the Broncos losing their last 2 games is much more likely to me the than the Chargers losing their last two
Yeah, but then you
games.
have to have a three-way tie, correct?
Well, and yeah, but I mean, you're talking about the Dolphins are going to play the Browns and then they're going to play the Jets. So, I mean, the Dolphins can absolutely win the last 2 games, and the Dolphins are still playing for something too. Um, and I mean, quite frankly, I think the Bengals at home. I mean, the Bengals are 3.5 point favorites at home on Saturday. I think the Broncos' best chance to clinch was last Thursday. I really do. I think they're going to have it's going to be tough sledding. I don't anticipate the Chiefs resting people the whole game, especially since they have the bye. I don't think that they're going to sit Mahomes for 8 quarters. I think he might sit the last two, but I mean, the Chiefs can come out and beat you in the first come out and beat you in the first 2 quarters. I mean,
So what do
the
you say?
Broncos played it.
So what do you say? Like 10% chance the Colts get in?
Oh,
What do you think?
you know what? I'm going to give it higher than that. I really think it's closer to 40.
Whoa!
I really do. I think it's much
A
closer than
lot of
people are
things
going to
have
give
to
it
go their
credit.
way for to get in.
It's not really. Not really because I think that the Dolphins are going to go up and beat the Browns. Um, and I think that the Dolphins are also going to beat the Jets. Well, they got to go out the Jets, but I think it's going to happen. I think the Bengals can go in and beat the Steelers. I'm not sure the Steelers are going to have anything to play for week 18, and I could see that as a team that will rest they're banged up. I could see that being a team that doesn't play everybody. So I really do. I like the Colts' chances. It might sound crazy, but I really do.
So the way they're playing right now, we went from are you concerned to how concerned are you to now you got to be seriously concerned to now this week are the Pacers the third best team in the East?
Absolutely. I've said and I will say, and I would like to preface this. I don't love to get on here and high horse, but of the three of us, I have always been on the side of the Pacers will figure it out, and I'm not that concerned. And they
Yes, you
just
were.
went and completely proved me right. Um, they got a tough game tonight against OKC at home,
You
but
mean last night, right? Because I'm running this at 5 in the morning. So
oh yeah, excuse me, I'm sorry. Last night
there you go.
they have a tough game last night against OKC. I really think it's disrespectful to put OKC as a 5.5 point favorite in Gamebridge. I think it's going to be a packed house tonight. I think the Pacers have a lot of juice. So yeah, I mean, I think that they hung around, they fought through the adversity. They're going to end up being the 3 or the 4 seed. I think as time goes on. I think that the Magic will tire a little bit.
Those
I
injuries, they don't have much of a chance to stay up
No,
there with those injuries.
I still think the Cavs are going to slow down the stretch. I really think this pace is not sustainable. This team is not the 2017 Warriors. Uh, Boston's going to end up being the 1 seed. I think the Knicks chemistry wise are really starting to figure it out. Karl Anthony Towns has really proven to be a huge compliment to that roster. We kind of had
Yeah.
questions about it coming in early to the year. I think he's proven that he's just a really, really good basketball player.
Yes, he is.
And two, he's so unselfish. He just makes that team so much better.
And Milwaukee's a problem as long as they have Giannis.
Well, that's true, but the Pacers have had the Bucks number. The Pacers
Yeah.
have played the Bucks tough for the past couple years. I don't the Bucks for whatever reason. They just don't scare me as a Pacers fan. When they play the Bucks, I really feel confident week in night out that they are going to beat the Bucks, and they're going to be a tough matchup. They're obviously a tough matchup for the Knicks. I think they're a tougher matchup for the Celtics than people want to give them credit for. The Magic kind of had their number earlier in the year, but I just don't think that the Magic are going to be able to sustain this, especially
No.
with the injuries that have taken place. I think they're going to
Now,
start seeing that 19-12 start to close in closer to 500.
don't get me wrong. Once they get those guys back, they are definitely a threat. They are
Oh, absolutely.
incredibly talented.
I also think the Heat are overachieving a little bit right now.
Yes.
This Pacers
Yeah.
team is
They
good.
always
I have no
overachieve.
concern. I have no concern for the Pacers. This team is very good.
I say somewhere between 3 and 5, by the way, is where they'll end up.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
I think that's right around where I had them coming into the year. I had them on the higher end of that, but I don't think that is a poor spot to have them. I like them I think they're a dangerous 5 seed. I really do.
All right. Question number 4. We haven't talked NHL for a while, and producer Susie is here for the podcast today.
Okay.
And she wants to know which teams have the best, in your mind, the top 5 teams most likely to win the Stanley Cup. And I know it's really tough because there are about 20 of them.
Well, my number one until Chucker Matthew Kachuk is not on the ice is the Florida Panthers. I just absolutely love swamp hockey. They play a stifling game in the defensive zone. Aaron Ekblad has turned a corner this year. Everybody said, "Oh, this guy's washed. This guy's bad." He's getting old. He's getting slow. He's shut all the haters down. Uh, I just this they're star filled. Sam Reinhart is a great player. Matthew Kachuk is a great player. Sasha Barkov is averaging over a point per game now. He's not always healthy, but Carter Verhaeghe is a great goal scorer. Whose shooting percentage is down a little bit this year. When you see guys hover around that 8.3 shooting percentage who are good shooters, expect to see that climb. He's going to get on a run here, especially playing on the line he plays on. So my number one is and really will be until I'm proven otherwise is going to be the Florida Panthers. I think the New Jersey Devils are quite dangerous. That is also a star-filled roster, incredibly young, a team that is on the rise. Jesper Bratt has been like the surprise of the year in the NHL. I mean, this was a good player, but not somebody you expected to come out and put up 45 points in 37 games. They have the goaltending to do so. They just have I don't know. They kind of just have that young, fast, exciting brand of hockey that people just love to watch. They're great for playoff hockey. They have the stars. They have kind of I don't want to say they have the grittiness of other teams, and I do think that does hurt them come the playoffs. Jacob Markstrom is a great goalie. They have an admirable backup in Jake Allen. So I'm going to say the Devils are my two.
I haven't heard
My
the Capitals yet.
we talk about this a lot, and as much as I'd like to come on here and say, oh, the Capitals have a chance, I just don't know if they really do. I like
Boo.
the story. I like the story. It's a great story because this was a team that was fringe. Really shouldn't have probably gotten into the playoffs last year. All of a sudden, they've elevated. They're second in the Metro. They've done it with Ovi being out, but I don't know. There's just something about them. One, I do kind of, as a Blackhawks fan, I kind of had a hatred for the Capitals for a while, maybe that affects my judgment. But they just have no skill. I don't understand how they've been able to do this. They don't, they've got one player averaging over a point per game, and somehow they're just kind of been real gritty. I mean, Logan Thompson's 2.4 goals against 914 save percentage. Those are good numbers. They're not excellent numbers. So, I mean, Chuck Lindgren, 903 save percentage. They're just, I call it winning dirty. They're winning dirty, and that's great, kind of like the Chiefs are, but they don't have a Patrick Mahomes as long as Ovi's out, unfortunately. So, I'd love to sit on here and say, oh, the Caps, are a top 5 team, but I just don't. I just don't think they are. I'm sorry. You didn't want to hear that, but
All
uh,
right. Who's your team number 3?
my team number 3, Connor McDavid. As long as he's on the ice, I'm. he's just. He is the most dominant athlete at their sport, maybe ever. I and in the major 4 sports, I don't know if there's ever been a person that is so far above the field in every which way. He's
More
just
than Wayne
incredible.
Gretzky,
I mean, yes, I
who
think he's
won
more
5
skilled than
Stanley
Wayne
Cups.
Gretzky. I think he is. If him and Wayne Gretzky would be
Careful.
an excellent. I'm talking a top 5 guy in the league right now. If he were to lace up his skates, probably if he at his age right now, he would still be. I'd put him a top 40 player in the league somehow. I mean, I'm not ever going to hate on the great one, but Connor McDavid is the greatest hockey player to ever lace up the skates in the history of the sport. If
What's
he
he
played,
won?
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you
Okay.
watch him play. He willed a team down 3-0 and almost won Game 7
All the great ones have
last year.
won, Will. All the
And
great
and
ones have found a way
and
to win.
McDavid can't. And how long did it take Wayne Gretzky to win his first Stanley Cup?
Not that long.
Well, I'm going to look that up right now, actually, because
Okay.
I'd love to know this.
I'm saying he can be, sure. But to put him in that category right now, when he hasn't proved it in the big situation, I think makes it a little bit of an exaggeration. That's all I'm saying.
If he played 40 years ago when
But
Wayne
he
Gretzky
didn't, though.
did,
He didn't, though.
well, I
Wayne
know, but
Gretzky was the best among his peers at the time.
he's so good. He's so good. Night in, night out. It is absolutely and utterly ridiculous what he's able to do on the ice. And he started the year off slow. I mean, he started the year off slow and he still got 49 points in 34 games. I mean, and granted, I won't lie, he
And by
does
the way,
play
Jerome
what?
McGinley used to do that every year, and he was not one of the great players of all time. You got
Well,
to win.
but look at the average save percentage now versus the 1990s and the 1980s. I mean, I mean, you're talking about, you saw guys, if you had an 8-9 save percentage in the 80s and 90s, you were considered a good goaltender. I mean, now that's not even cracking the AHL. I mean, goaltenders aren't even performing that bad there. I mean, you're talking average save percentages is 9-10 now. I mean, the goalies have just gotten that much better. The game has evolved like every other sport. The game has evolved,
Right.
and this is the most competitive the game has been. And Connor McDavid is the greatest player in the most competitive era of the game.
Fair enough. All right, who's next?
Next, I love Vegas. I do. They are a franchise that just breeds winning.
Susie just growled.
Oh, I know. That's what everybody says about the Knights,
They
including
won
me.
too fast.
Yeah, and they continue to win.
I
I mean,
know.
they literally they just continue to win year in and year out, and it doesn't make sense how they're constantly playing salary cap gymnastics. They're constantly using long-term IR to do this. I mean, Jackie Aces is a stud. Stoner is an excellent player. Kind of gets forgotten. He carried those Senators teams to places they had no business going while he was in Ottawa, and he's only done that in Vegas. They breed winning there. Uh, they have the blue line. They have the goaltending. They just have everything. They have everything. They're a complete team. I mean, Aiden Hill's playing bad hockey, and they're still winning right now. I expect him to get much better. Ilya Samsonov has been an admirable backup. He comes in and wins. But when you score 5 goals a game, it don't matter how good your goaltending is. I mean, that's just a matter of fact. And they somehow, come playoff time, find a way to be nitty gritty. They are sandpaper and jam, as they say in the hockey terms. They are great back checking. They play great in the neutral zone. They are stifling. They just have everything. And I wish I could sit here. I wish they sucked. I really did. I wish they sucked. Um, I hated them since their inception. The past couple years, I've really started to turn because I do like Jack Eichel so much. He was done so wrong in Buffalo. He just deserves to have this breath of fresh air and to be the star that he always was and never had the ability to show. Early in the year, we talked about the Jets. The pace has cooled off a lot. They're still an incredibly skilled team. I'm going to move to 5 right now. You don't even have to throw it to me. I'm going to go 5. I still think the Colorado Avalanche just have too much star power, excuse me, to not be real dangerous. I mean, this is a team nobody would want to play in the postseason. Nathan McKinnon is second in as far as skill wise to Connor McDavid, we're seeing the two most skilled players ever at the same era right now. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, if McDavid's 1A, Nathan McKinnon is 1B. Mikko Rantanen is an absolute stud. Cale Makar is the greatest defenseman ever. I know his numbers don't, they're not at Bobby Orr yet, but literally nobody does what Cale Makar does. If he was a forward, he'd score 120 points a year. I mean, he's that skilled offensively, and he still has to play on the blue line too. Casey Middlestad has become an admirable second, third line center. Their goaltending has always kind of been questionable. Gorgiev is really quite pitiful. But that's honestly, that's been their downfall the past couple of years is their goaltending. Ever since they won the cup, their goaltending just has not been up to the level that it was. And their team's changed a little bit. People have moved on. Their roster looks different because they're paying, such high price at the top of the pay scale with McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, who hasn't played, Makar, Devon Taves, but they're just so dangerous. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack. My cousin is a huge Maple Leafs fan, but the Maple Leafs, they just can't win in the postseason. They just can't. So I'm not even going to mention them in the top five because like you say with the Lions, that the Lions can't win the Super Bowl. It's impossible. The Maple Leafs can't win the Stanley Cup. It just is not going to happen.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you a 4B here real fast. How
Okay.
far away are the Blackhawks?
I would have said, my dad and I talked about this. I would have said coming into this year, this was the year that the Blackhawks needed to start pushing for that playoff spot. The young guys kind of needed to come up and develop. Their roster's still just so far away. I mean, they're really taking it slow with the development of their young players. They've got a lot of I would say young stars in the making that kind of are supposed to be maybe in the NHL. They're not getting beat up in the NHL. They're in Rockford. They're developing. They've got a lot of guys still in college that have gone back for a second year, third year. I want to say that next year's the year they're supposed to compete, but I don't know if it is. To me, this rebuild is taking a little too long. You can only sell people on the stardom of Connor Bedard for so long before people don't want to go watch the games. They don't want to see this. So to me, they need to go sign an elite goaltender. They need to get off of the salary floor and start getting up towards the salary cap. But, I mean, Alex Vlasic is an absolute shutdown 1A defensive defenseman. Reminds me of a young Nick Hjalmarsson. If you're a hockey fan, you'll know that is a great comparison. I'm not kidding, Greg. This is a borderline AHL roster. Connor Bedard, the fact that he's got 30 points in 35 games playing with really these scrubs is incredible. I mean, they have Teuvo Teravainen is a top 6 forward probably in most places. Tyler Bertuzzi's probably a top, I don't know, he's probably a top 9 forward. Taylor Hall at this point in his career is probably a top 9 forward. I would say those are the only 4 players, Bedard and those 4 of their top 4 lines. Those are the only 4 that probably go and play on other teams and see significant minutes that are not just on the penalty kill, not fourth line pluggers. Their blue line's a little better. Vlasic's really good. You want to see Seth Jones. He got a lot of flack for how bad his contract was when he signed up with the Blackhawks. He's really been a pretty good defenseman for them. That contract looks a lot better with the salary cap continuing. Kevin Korchinski just got called up. He is supposed to be a really good offensive defenseman, but their goaltending is just bad. I mean, and to me, that is the backbone of a great hockey team is how good of goaltending are you getting night in and night out. Peter Mrazek, he was good last year. He's been pretty bad this year. So to answer your question, I'm saying that 2 years from now, the Blackhawks will contend. And I really wish it was next year. But I think, in all honesty, it's 2 years before they're contending.
All right. And by the way, for baseball fans, we are going to talk next week about the National League Central in one of our questions. So we'll be prepared to talk like you need to prepare to talk about the National League Central.
I
do
love
not
the
need
NL. I mean, I love the NL Central.
Yeah, you do. You're not going to need to prepare at all. Anyway, question number 5. Who are your 4 winners this week in the college football playoffs? I'm sorry, next week, I guess.
Next week. Well, I am going to the Rose Bowl,
Well, that's right.
so I am obviously. I think this is a rather easy week to pick. I think Texas blows Arizona State out. It's a great story. I'm happy for Arizona State that they're able to get in and win their way in. Texas is going to beat them. For me, I think Penn State's going to also kind of roll through Boise State. Boise State is really good, and Genty is really, really good. And Maddox Madsen is actually he's a pretty admirable quarterback. Uh, he's a sophomore, I believe. I mean, he's a real star in the making. I think he's a potential kind of fringe backup Sunday guy. I don't know if he's a starter, but he throws and delivers a good ball. Their passing game is better than people have said. Genty's taken the spotlight away, but that is a team that can throw the ball. Penn State, I just think Penn State's got an easy road. I don't think that they were really tested at all against SMU. And I don't. I mean, Boise State's the 3 seed. But I think if you were to rank them without buys, I'm not sure Boise State's not 10. I mean, if we're really like going off power rankings, I'm not sure Boise
Right.
State's probably not 10. And I think
Yep.
Arizona State, they're 9, 11.
Right.
I mean, and to me, that is where they need something's got to change here. I agree that teams have to.
I think it's perfect. I think it's
You have
perfect
to
the way.
you have to give playoff positions to the most deserving teams. I do agree with that. Teams that deserve to be there should be there. But none of these games outside of Ohio, I mean, you've got 2 games in Ohio State and Oregon and Notre Dame and Georgia that I would say are really going to be competitive games. Outside of that, I'm not really sure that the other 2 aren't similar to what we saw week 1.
All right, I agree with you
17
I agree with you on Penn State and Texas. The other 2 are I think the tough ones to pick. So, what are your picks on those 2?
right now they've got Ohio State at 2.5. I don't really know why. Oregon beat them in the first matchup, and I get that was at Oregon, but this is going to be a West Coast. I mean, Oregon people are going to be there. I mean, it's a much easier travel for Oregon folk than it is for Ohio State. I would expect it to be probably 60-40 Oregon to Ohio State ratio. I don't know. I feel like Oregon's kind of getting the treatment of we haven't seen you play. So we saw Ohio State and we're able to pick the line based on that. But I'm going Oregon. I think Oregon's going to win by 2 scores this time. I really do. I think that they're the better team. I think they were the better team the last time they played. I think Oregon left 8 points on the board the last time they played. I don't know why they're getting this treatment of, we're going to have Ohio State's traveling across the coast, different time zone, all this, all that. I don't know what the records are when teams have to do that, but I have to imagine that the team staying in their time zone, playing on their side of the country without a 6-hour flight might perform a little bit better. And I think they've got the better quarterback. I think they got the better. They don't have the better receiver. I mean,
No.
Tez Johnson's great, but Jeremiah Smith would be the number 1 pick this year in this year's NFL draft. Emeka Egbuka is a round 1 guy. Ohio State's got him beat there. But I really think that Oregon's a really, really good team.
All right, Notre Dame, Georgia.
Notre Dame. I think Georgia looked pretty bad. They looked bad with Carson Beck, and they looked even worse without him. I think Notre Dame's rolling hot. That 10-point is quite deceiving. That was not a 10-point game at any point in that game. That was a 3-score game. Notre Dame played really, really well against Indiana, and I think they continue to do that. And I think that they benefit from it being in New Orleans. Notre Dame does a little bit. I think it'd be a lot tougher if they had to play in Atlanta because you're going to have a mainly Georgia crowd. It's going to be probably 70-30, 60-40. Notre Dame travels well, though, and that's an alumni base that will be there. That's a very solid fan base. And also, Louisiana has a very high Catholic population. Notre Dame typically has a big following with the Catholic community. So I think that they're going to be very well represented in Louisiana, and I think they're going to go in there and win.
The answer, by the way, is all 4 teams that won last week are going to win this week. Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Ohio State. The reason that they are favored is because Vegas is begging the public to bet on Oregon because they know the Ohio State's going to win this game.
I don't think I'm trusting Will Howard more than I'm trusting Dylan Gabriel. I really don't.
All right, well, we look forward to finding out. Actually, you and I may
Yeah.
talk even again before that. So
No, we probably will. We probably will talk before that. So we're
that's right.
probably not going to have a final answer until, or I guess a final conversation about it for a couple weeks.
That's right.
Also, a complete non-topic, but a MAC Toledo team is playing a ACC Pitt team and is in the fourth overtime.
Yeah,
So,
but the MAC is horrible, Will.
oh yeah, I remembered when I got laughed at for saying that
Yeah.
the MAC is a tough conference to play against when you have a Power Four playing against a mid major. I remember that actually.
If it was week after week after week, yes, the Big Ten would beat up on the MAC. Nobody
Yeah,
doubts that. But 1 week at a time, the MAC is awfully dangerous.
they are incredibly dangerous, and I don't know why. It's not what I said is not that crazy. I mean, the
No.
MAC plays a very physical brand of football. They are getting all of the Midwest guys and players that Big Ten teams gave preferred walk-ons to, or said, we'll give you a scholarship, but there's a chance you're not competing for a spot for 3 years. They have to have a good running game. They can control the clock. Typically, they are good in their defensive line too. I mean, it's just I just want people to respect the MAC a little bit more than I do. I
Well,
mean,
hey, look,
this is a good mid major. The MAC is.
the Central Indiana Sports Report, without question, respects the MAC.
Well,
It is a
I don't know.
fantastic. It is a fantastic conference in almost every sport, and we love it. So, and we love
Well,
Ball
two
State,
of
of
the
course.
three. I'm not. I'm sure Michelle's going to list this. I'm not forgotten what she said.
All right.
What she
Well,
said is really it's unfortunate that she said what she said about the MAC.
all right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Always
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
And we will talk again very soon, sooner than
Yes.
usual.
Yep. I will see you soon. Bye.
Thanks to Will for having the courage to stand in front of the firing squad every week. He does such a good job and just gets better every week. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Please go like, subscribe, or follow, and tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.